I used to play all my racing games, generally using the keyboard, which wasn't the most realistic or immersive way of playing. I could have used a joystick, I guess, back then, but to be honest, I just felt that that was a bit strange, so I never really did. Now I could use joypads as well, but again, I don't think I actually ever had any back then. But what I always really lusted after was a good racing wheel. And so in this video I'm going to be doing a retrospective review of the Microsoft Sidewinder Precision Racing Wheel. This lovely piece of kit I picked up very recently. This is the USB model, and I'm using it with my period correct Pentium 3 desktop computer. The Precision Racing Wheel design still holds up today in 2018. The matte black aesthetics look sleek and the build quality is very high. No fading or obvious wear and tear on this model. I like the simple Microsoft logo in the center, and the buttons have a satisfying clickiness still after all these years. Now this wheel does not have force feedback, and so it doesn't rely on motors to bring it back to the center position, but the tension in the springs in the wheel are still excellently weighted and the wheel snaps back to the center smoothly. The rib pattern on the wheel allows for good grip and is quite ergonomic. Foot pedals likewise are well made. The large base means it stays put on carpet at least, and the pedals have not lost any of their resistance. Very comfortable to use. The Sidewinder wheel has an elegant clamping system that makes it simple to connect to the desk. There is a screw clamp device that you tighten up first before pushing the front clamp closed to lock the wheel to the desk. Not sure if I explained that very well, but if you can see in the video, it's pretty simple. And once engaged, it is firmly clamped to the desk, so it will take a lot of punishment. As mentioned, I'm using this with my Windows 98 machine, and so I installed the required drivers, which builds in its own set of Sidewinder configuration app into the control panel. For particular games on the first tab. The second tab allows you to test the calibration by going through the X and Y axis and seeing that it affects that little car icon. The third tab allows for button remapping, and the final tab allows for configuration of the dead zone and sensitivity, which I keep to default for now. But let's see if my gaming skills are improved at all by using this racing wheel. First up, let's have a look at Need for Speed. Well, for Need for Speed, I actually had some problems. I couldn't get the pedals to work for some reason, so I had to map the accelerator to one of the buttons on the wheel. So that's why there you saw that I got smashed into the back by the person behind me. But overall, I think it was okay playing with this. It definitely made it feel better than using a controller or the keyboard. I don't think it necessarily made me better, and you'll probably see that in the next couple of games as well, but it did enhance the gameplay experience. So first of all, this was a pretty good first test. Okay, so the second game that I've put on here, or tested the wheel out with, is Power Slide. I really like this game. It's pretty cool mechanic where you literally is very slippery and sliding around all the corners. With this one, I found I just needed to practice a little bit with the wheel to get the right sensitivity. Tended to find that I would oversteer a bit and then oversteer back to compensate, and I'd get into this weird snaky kind of motion which was hard to pull out of. But that's probably just because I needed to get used to the wheel. NASCAR 2. This game, I started off and you could see there I was pulling to the right because I hadn't calibrated the joystick, so I had to go back into the settings here and recalibrate the wheel and the pedals. Once I had that done, I actually made the game much more playable, obviously. But this game was pretty well suited to the racing wheel. Maybe because the tracks are pretty straightforward and not a lot going on, just a lot of left turns, but did tend to suit the racing wheel quite well, and actually I enjoyed playing this game with the wheel. Obviously not very well there. pretty dirty driver just smashing these guys out of the way, but I did actually enjoy this one quite a lot, and I ended up playing this one for a bit longer than I thought I would. And then onto my old favourite, Sega Rally. So I play this one a lot. I've done a video before on PC versus Saturn. I play it a lot with the joypad, which I'm pretty used to now. I actually found this one quite difficult to play with the steering wheel, and I don't know if that's just because of the way that the game kind of accepts the sensitivity, maybe it's used to using keyboard or joypad inputs, but I really found this one to be very tricky to control with the steering wheel. Even with the lowest sensitivity, I tended to find that I was really snaking all over the place again and really getting stuck with a lot of oversteer. You can see on the video that compared to my normal times, I'm quite a few seconds down straight away, and over the 3 laps, so I'm really far away from my typical time. So the steering wheel here really didn't make me a better player. I probably enjoyed playing a bit more, but yeah, it didn't give me a better time overall. So what are my final thoughts on this steering wheel? Well, I think for an old wheel, for a wheel that's almost 20 years old now, if you get it for a low price, 20 bucks or below, it's a no-brainer. It's still good quality, it works well, at least with an old Windows 98 machine, of course. For newer machines, if you've got Windows 10, if you've got Mac OS, I'm not sure if the drivers work for that. I don't know if the wheel works, so you'll have to do a bit of research there. But I think the main thing that holds it back is the fact that it doesn't have force feedback. And that's actually quite a big deal. You get a lot of tactile response, and it makes you enjoy the game further if you do have that force feedback. So overall, probably about a 7 out of 10. Would still pick it up, but if you can find a force feedback version, then get that one instead.